It's a tale as old as time. Red Bull Racing built a car in which Max Verstappen can fight for wins, but his teammate struggles to keep up, like Checo Perez in recent years or Liam Lawson right now. Verstappen does something differently to them, particularly in terms of his driving style. So what exactly is that, and why does that mean the Dutchman's teammates have struggled so much? We're talking you through it all in this week's GPFans Special. Lawson's position at Red Bull is already under pressure after his truly awful start to the season, having qualified plumb last twice in China and not getting close to scoring points so far. The Kiwi himself says he struggles to come to grips with the RB21, with Verstappen too admitting the car is hard to handle. This was also said about last year's RB20, a car that Sergio Perez could not get to bend to his will, while Verstappen won the title with 2 races and a sprint to spare. Yuki Tsunoda is now being hailed as a replacement for Lawson, but there is no guarantee the Japanese ace would do much better. Still, Verstappen managed to finish 4th in China, managing to extract performance from the car that his teammate could not. That has everything to do with his driving style, as Verstappen likes cars to be extremely pointy. But what is that? Well, generally speaking, there are 2 driving styles. One of them leans on the front end of the car being agile and the driver catching the backside that steps out, or oversteer. The other requires the rear end to be stable and the front end to be loose, making it harder to get the car to turn as you're generating understeer. With a pointy car, it's easier to turn it and rotate it, but it also unsettles the car, making it oversteer at corner entry as well as exit. It's up to the driver to stabilize the car. In the other configuration, the rear end is much more stable, especially under braking, as the rear has more downforce. Drivers can lean on the rear end more, but there is a higher chance of understeer mid-corner. This can be anticipated, however, to lose as little time as possible. There are a few ways for teams to make a car pointy. You can change the mechanical grip or change the weight distribution. It can be done through aerodynamics too, like changing the wing setup or the front suspension. Simply put, Verstappen is an expert at knowing when a car will oversteer and cancelling this out. Checo Perez's many shunts tell us he struggled a little bit more with that aspect. It has to be said, though, that Verstappen is not the only driver who likes a pointy car. Charles Leclerc likes his cars pointy too, as do George Russell and Alex Albon, Verstappen's former Red Bull teammate. Despite this, however, Albon never really came to grips with the same car as Verstappen. In the High Performance podcast, Albon explained where Verstappen makes all the difference. The Thai driver dismisses the public perception that the car is built around Verstappen's needs, but rather that the 4-time champion makes the most of what he gets and tweaks the car to his liking as the season goes on. If you play computer games at all, but you bump up the sensitivity completely to the max, you move that mouse and it just darts across the screen everywhere. It becomes so sharp that it makes you a little bit tense, so what ended up happening during my year, you start off being a little bit behind, but not by much. And then, as the season goes on, and Max wants this front end in the car, he wants his car to be sharper. And as it goes sharper and sharper, he goes quicker and quicker, and for you to catch up, you have to start taking a little bit more risk. When that risk-taking starts to happen, crashes and shunts will inevitably follow. Verstappen himself is of course just focused on his own driving, but did admit that his driving style, which has an impact on how Red Bull developed their car during seasons, might not work for others, as it is not very user-friendly. Everyone has their own driving style, so what works for me might not work for someone else. But other drivers drive differently, and they are also very fast. So for me, it's quite natural the way my car behaves because I like that kind of car, but maybe for others, it's not the right way. That's how it works. Well, now you know why and how Max Verstappen marks the difference at Red Bull. Do you think Red Bull have to make their cars more stable to accommodate second drivers better, or should they just play to Verstappen's strengths as much as possible? Leave a comment down below and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.